Hey guys, new video here talking about my June strategy. June is a master that came out in Betrayal League, so almost 2 years ago at this point. Since Betrayal League, I didn't really focus on this master. What I did is, because I play a zoom playstyle, heavy farming playstyle, whenever a betrayal option would spawn, right, the guys would jump in between 1 and 4 dudes at a time. I would just start spam clicking, right? Betrayal, bargain, betray, interrogate. I always click the fastest button possible as fast as I humanly could, because even if you let go of the master, let me just talk to this person here. Let me just show you. I'll just spam click on the options really quick, because no matter what choice you choose, you would get XP both for your character down here in the XP bar, and then you'd also get XP for your offhand gems, right? So I was like, okay, I'm a temp chains character. I'm gonna lose time if I take too long thinking about it. Let me just spam, get my XP, and move on, okay? And for almost 2 years, this is how I was playing, and I was kind of dumb because this last week or so, I was like, you know what? Betrayal's been in the game. It's like basically a new league for me, so let me try it out. And for those guys that want like a TLDR, is it worth, right? Is it worth learning how to do the June, even though it's kind of intimidating? And it was really hard for me. If I didn't have my Twitch chat helping me out every step of the way, I would not have been able to figure it out through the YouTube videos, because it's just way too hard. So it is absolutely worth, and a TLDR on the results is because just from these breach stones alone, not counting any of the scarabs or any of the drops while farming these, I recently just sold like 10 of these things. They're somewhere up here. Let's see, but basically, yeah, I just sold 10 pure Chayubis for 20 exalts, which brings my total, right, because all of them were sold, the previous ones were sold on stream. That brings my total of sold Chayubi breach stones in 1 week's time at about 190 exalts. Now, obviously, pure stones are a little bit less expensive in the beginning league than they are at the end of the league, right? Because like people are trying to get their level hundreds, so they might be willing to pay a little bit more in bulk. But this should give you a scope of it, like how easy it is. If in 1 week I can learn the betrayal and make 190 exalts in this league with just pure Chayubis, not counting anything else drop like the scarabs and stuff from the intervention, then I would say it's definitely worth. And I would estimate that if you take the time to do your betrayal board from the very beginning of a league to the end, I would estimate for myself, I was like kind of extrapolating the numbers and stuff and scaling it. If I set up my board, let's say in like 60 to 100 Junes at the beginning of the league, and I played for 2 months, 2.5 months, whatever, it would be a gain of multiple mirrors. For me, probably between 3 and 5 mirrors of profit gained by doing a min-max betrayal board from the very beginning, okay? And so I think that is very worth. Now, now that I've explained all of this, I'll give you a little bit more backstory before I go into the actual, like my actual strategy. This video is not going to be a walkthrough from beginning to end. Now, I could do that because this is my second time around setting up this board. This isn't min-maxed yet because I reset it about a day ago. But this is my second time around resetting the board and getting it back to the perfect state or near perfect state where I can start min-maxing. And to me, it felt really easy in terms of how many missions it took. So the first time around with Twitch chat helping, I had no knowledge. Like I had no idea about any of the rules. I didn't know what green lines meant. I didn't know what red lines meant. I was just clicking buttons. I was doing my cat arena and stuff. It was crazy, right? And so the first time around to get a board like similar to this, right, where I'm ready to start min-maxing, it was about 360 June missions, and I wasn't doing my Junes. So if you press your G button, like as you can see, I ran all my Junes down here. But like for example, look how many Nikos I have in reds. I have 630. I've never touched that. My Junes, I started about 300 something, and I was running them down, restocking them using some prophecies and stuff like that. So it took me about 360 red Junes to get a board something like this, right? Because I was a noob. Things to note that while I was learning, I was making so many mistakes, like completely scuffing my board, not taking intelligence when I should, not ranking up when I should, not doing my order of operations for looking at the members when I should, and even scuffing it. And then at somewhere around the 150 master mark, on my somewhere around the 150th June that I encountered, I completely scuffed my board because my general board strategy, which I'll go into a little bit more. This might be maybe a longer video, but my general strategy was It That Fled and Verici and Research for white sockets here, and then for pure Chayubi breach stones, which is the biggest money, you want her as the leader, which is very easy to get here. And then currently for myself, for self-use, this will change league to league depending on what scarabs are valuable. But for self-use, for like SSF scarabs that are good, what I was doing, oops, let me turn this down. What I was doing was Vagin for Gilded Legion Scarabs, and then Gravitius in the leadership position, preferably for Gilded Divination Scarabs, which are the most expensive this week because of Barrow Chambers and Delirium Orbs and stuff like that, and you get 2 of them, right? Leader just gets like 2 of the bench or the option. And so with this, somewhere around my 150th master, I changed out my Vagin or something for like someone over here, so completely scuffed that. And then besides that, I was scuffing my board so much because like in the beginning I was messing up the options, so I didn't have lines between the members and stuff like of the good houses, okay? And so even with all this scuffed, you know, it took about 5 days to get a good board, right? Messing up that much. Now why am I mentioning this? Because after I had a good board, it was a little bit better than this because I think I had like almost all red lines. After all that, I was like, you know what? Now that I feel like I know the board a little bit more, why don't I just reset? If I click on this button here, Safe House, and I go kill Katarina, it will reset my entire board. These guys will disappear. There's 17 masters in total, but only 14 on the board at one time. 5 in each of these houses, and then 4 here for 14. And it will reset it to, I think, like what is it? I think it's like 10 or something, right? Because you'll have a leader, you'll have a question marked, like question marks, you won't know who they are. You have question marks here, 4 of them, and I think you have like 2 unassigned question marks, something like that. I forgot what it is. And then you have to redo it all over from scratch. I read it from scratch, and it took me, okay, imagine like 10 of these lines didn't exist. Like imagine like just 10 of these random lines are gone, but still a very good board. It only took me 60 the next time. Right, from 350 messing up a lot to 60 to set up a board, and 60 June missions is nothing, right? It's actually nothing when you think about how much you can play. And like, for example, when you go into a map, given that you have a min-max thing here, right, 45% chance to get something, every map where you kill the boss, if it's a 45% chance to get a master mission and it's 1 out of 5, it's a 9% chance to get a June. So even if you're not doing anything else, like you're not getting any random encounters, which you will, let's say you do 100 maps, that's 9 Junes on average. You can buy prophecies and things like this to get more. You just get so many of these, right? And so this is great because every day you also get a free June mission from the game. I think it's like 7 o'clock Central Time, 6 o'clock Central, I forgot what time it is, but it refreshes. So you'll get a bunch of June missions to try this out, and 60, I can assure you, is a very low number. Okay, so with all of that said, what is my strategy? And I will put in some caveats here because league to league things change. For example, my tentative board, the thing that is mandatory no matter what league it's gonna be, I just know that this is gonna be true, is It That Fled. Okay, It That Fled is your big money maker. It has to be in research. It just mandatory. Don't even think about putting this anywhere else, because like if you put this here, like you'll get Gilded Breach Scarabs, which are more expensive than I guess Legion Scarabs right now at the time of this recording. But this Breach Stone at the time of this recording, you can see I sold 10 for 28 exalts earlier. That's 2.8 in bulk. The regular stone costs 90C, which is like maybe a little over half an exalt. So let's just say you make let's just say that you make 2 exalts on these stones, and you're running this every time with It That Fled in the, well, let's just say 9% of the time with It That Fled in the leader position, where you get 2 of them. So that is 5.6 exalts minus, let's say, an exalt. You are making 4.6 exalts at the time of this recording from this safe house alone, and you get these up very, very fast. Okay, once again, in 1 week's time from just It That Fled, I made 190 exalts, obviously minus the stone cost. I was buying stones from the beginning of the week, it was like 75C. Now it's like 90C, or maybe even more than 90C now. I was buying mine in bulk for those prices. So you make tons of money, even if you count the cost and stuff and time trading, okay, because you can buy regular stones in bulk. So this is the mandatory one no matter what league it is. Now I could be wrong, maybe in a future league they like change the betrayal, but I don't think they're going to change the betrayal because like no one does it, which is why it's so valuable, because learning this was absolute cancer. It was so annoying and it took so much time and thinking. I thought my brain was going to explode. Now I have like 50 IQ, right? So if you have like 100 IQ, you're gonna be able to figure this out with some practice. And maybe and if you're interested in me making a video from a zeroed out board, meaning doing a Katarina and having all question marks everywhere, into this board right here, I can try to make that video. There's certain issues in making that video because that video would be like That video will be like 6 hours long, okay? But I could do it. I just need to do the editing. So you can let me know in the comments if you would like to see a video like that, because I have stuff like that on my stream, but no one's gonna go to my stream and watch the VODs and like filter through the timestamps to like see like where I'm encountering a June, right? Even though I was spamming down the Junes recently. So I could maybe make that video for YouTube. I'm thinking about it, but let's move on with the strategy. So next league, I'm gonna for sure, no questions asked, have It That Fled in the research branch, putting her here, and then obviously preferably moving her into the master position, which is very, very easy once you get all these lines, because once you get all these lines, the master, the leader, initially, if you have a scuff board or you have no idea what you're doing, the leader is kind of hard to spawn, but not when you have a ton of lines. So when I derank him, she just moves up, and we're all good. So very easy to, I would say, if I wanted to focus on it and like purely min-max, I'd say I get a 2-stone It That Fled 80 to 90% of the time. The reason I don't wait for 100% of the time to guarantee this this rank down and move her into the 2 pure stone is because sometimes I just get annoyed. Sometimes I'm just like, you know what, I get these houses so fast that like if I wait for the spawn, it's like I'm losing a lot of XP, right? So I could just like do it now, get my white socket, get my 1 stone, and then later on it'll be easy to get again. So like 89% of the time I'll get 2 stones, and then that little bit amount of time where I don't want to min-max because I'm just too lazy, sometimes I get 1 stone, right? But you absolutely can get 2 stones every single time because this is min-max and there's no risk of breaking your board when you know what you're doing. So that's a mainstay. Now, depending on what kind of player you are, solo self-found, trade league, if you can trade with people, if you're social, this might change. So my Vrici, I'm going to tell you why I chose Vrici. Now Vrici is very good for your items because if you look at my items here, I have white sockets. I'm pretty much well, not this is corrupted, but like look, 3 whites, no whites here, that's corrupted, 1 white here, but I could get 3 whites here. I have 1 white here, or I guess I have 2 whites here, but I get 3 whites here. I have a lot of white sockets, right? It's really nice when you have builds where you like maybe want to switch around things, gems and things to get white sockets. You can use it for yourself, and of course you can sell them. Now I'm a streamer, right? And for the past 3 to 4 leagues, I myself and my community and just the community at large, usually it's like you can either sell it for like an exalt per bench. Our current going rate is about 1 exalt per white socket, meaning that if I get a Vrici 3 for up to 3 white sockets, RNG, if someone gave me their item and wanted to buy the bench and I got them 3 white sockets, they paid 3 exalts. And I pay this price too, like sometimes I'm like, okay, I'll pay you 1 exalt per white socket. So like for example, on these gloves, I got 2 white sockets, I would have to pay them 2 exalts. So because I'm a streamer, or if you're very heavy on like a trade or you're part of a team and stuff, it's very easy to make the money there. So that's why I chose him. If the pariah is an expensive item in future leagues when Magic Find becomes more dominant, then you can, it's even better, because then even if you have a scuffed Vrici, meaning that you know your It That Fled is right here, it's rank 3 and it's in the master position and you're ready to run the house, and your Vrici is maybe rank 1, which is only 1 white socket, well then you can use it on Pariah Ring and you're guaranteed that white socket. So that's money as well if you can sell that thing, right? But the moral of the story is that if you are more trade centric, if you have friends, if you play in groups, if you can actually get the trades, then Vrici becomes better in this scenario that I just described. And then also like the reason for these prices is also like as a streamer, or like if you're part of a trade community that like you trade with the same people all the time and you trust each other. The trust is a strong thing, because if you guys don't know, if you're a new player, benches in this game, whether it be white sockets, whether it's Hillock where he does like this would be a weapon for Hillock, this would be an armor, this would be a flask, this would be a map. You can't just buy someone's bench by having them allow you into the syndicate encounter and then use the bench yourself. Okay, it's not just simple as I hand you an exalt, I'm at your bench, I click on the bench, I put in my own. You have to hand your item to the person. So to get white sockets on this exploding nebulous, which is like 2 or 3 mirrors, I'd have to hand this over to the guy and they'd have to put it on the bench. They'd have to use it themselves. And that's super risky, right? And that's why, you know, these things sell for premiums if you have the level of trust. So you need to keep these things in mind when thinking about what you want to do there, okay? But mostly a new challenge league, every 3-month league, besides the It That Fled being mandatory, you would want to look at whether you are solo self-out and getting these things for your own use. Because if I'm only getting things for my own use, then it's very, very different than getting things to trade in a trade league. Because for example, if I was doing my own use and I want to get a header faster, I would absolutely need Gravicius here so I can Divination Scarab and then sustain my burials and get a lot of doctors that way. If I was just for fun and farming, I would obviously want Vagin, because he would give me the Legion Scarabs, and Legion Scarabs are super duper fun. And if I I'm solo self-found. Wow, that makes the game overall better, right? I would not, but like for example, let's say in some crazy twist of fate, what's her name? Is it Rin or is it no? It's Elrion. Elrion's not even here. I really should have Elrion here. I'm actually scuffing my board by not having him here because he drops Elrion jewelry for future leagues. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. So let's say Elrion. I look on PoE Ninja, and I'll bring up this site for you in case you don't know. I'm going to show you guys actually in a little bit. I have examples for my walkthrough of my strategy. Really quickly, once again, this is not a guide on how to set up. I can make that separate video if you want. I'm going to link Zizarin and Daykun's video guides below the stream. You can click on those. Those are intro and a little bit more advanced tactics. But even those videos, watching them, you're not going to know what you're doing until you run hundreds and hundreds of June missions and just kind of get into the pattern. Okay, so let me just show you something real quick. PoE Ninja is a site where if you are in a trade league, you can click on things like, for example, Scarabs, which is intervention usually. With a few exceptions. So where's Scarabs? So if you are in a trade league and you only care about money, then this is what you do, right? You'd be like, if you don't want to use Scarabs yourself, that you drop from your safe houses, Gilded Divination and Breach, right? Boom. That's so that would be Gravitius in the leadership position for the most value, and then you would want well, this one no, because this is It That Fled, okay? Because no one puts It That Fled there, which is why probably it's expensive. But then you want the Solftia, which is Chimeria. So you want Chimeria and Gravitius in intervention if all you care about is money. So that is part of the strategy there, right? For me personally, I have a good mix. Next league, I'm going to do It That Fled Verici, and then I'm going to do Gravitius for Barrier Chambers, of course. And then I will probably do Vagin, but if I like Delving, I might try out Delving. I might do Sulfy Scarabs. If I like whatever else, I might change my mind. But these two are a good mix, I think, because even if I get the Legion Scarabs, you have to remember that these rewards, they drop not just the listed rewards. So for example, Gravitius, if it was rank 3 leader and I do this room, I'm not just guaranteed 2 gilded divination scarabs. I will always get those, but sometimes I get 5 scarabs. Sometimes I get 2 gilded, 1 polished, 2 rusted, right? So it's more than the minimum level of good scarabs, which is very important, because if that happens with Vagin, let's say Vagin was your leader because you were too lazy to get your Gravitius into the leadership position, and you got two chests with Vagin, you would get guaranteed 2 Guild Legion scarabs, which is two pylons with generals that you can stack with the pylon, the Legion counter sextant, right, to guarantee even more generals. Excuse me. And then there's a chance that you could drop 4 additional scarabs, like 2 more polished, 2 more rusted, and now from 1 safe house you have 6 of these guaranteed scarabs, 6 pylons. That's crazy, right? So then I might want to run those instead of selling them. So think about your options of not just like in a pure sense, an absolute value sense, but think about like the nuances of that, okay, of what you might want. And so now that that's explained, that Betrayal is super complicated, guys. It's probably the hardest thing in the game to understand and to get going, because it takes so much effort and so much thinking and so much downtime to walk through the decisions, and that's why it's so profitable, right? No one wants to do this stuff. And without Twitch chat helping me with the beginning stuff and getting me into the motion of my priority list of like decision making, like it's more like a decision tree, then I would not be able to do this on my own. I'm just gonna say it right now. I watched this video, I watched Daykun's video, I was like, all right, yeah, that's obvious, right? Obviously I want It That Fled here and like whatever, but I had no idea how to manipulate the stuff, and that was super annoying. So with that said, my strategy is 2 people in, we'll call these good houses, okay? The branches are from left to right: transportation, fortification, research, and intervention. Research and intervention branch here, okay, once again, research, intervention, we'll refer to these as the good 2 houses, okay? And the bad houses for me are transportation and fortification, okay? And this strategy revolves around, once again, I'm not gonna go into too much of the details. You can watch the other videos below if you want to see those, but basically it's an infinite cycling in research of Verici and It That Fled without ever bricking it, because of the game mechanics, you can't ever do anything but these 2, right, when you get this setup going. And then in intervention, I'll have infinite cycling of Gravitius and Vagin back and forth in here, once again, because of the clever use of game mechanics to guarantee these 2 in those slots even after you run a safe house, and then just keep going over and over and over. And then the bad houses, as I refer to them, the reason they're referred to as bad houses is because you put like all the shitty masters in there that you would never run or that you don't want, right? Now I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, oh, Mr. Streamer, did you know that Tora gives XP here? Did you know that Leo gives free slams in here? Yes, I know that, but for the min-max strategy, you can only pick 2 in 2 houses, okay? And if your priorities are different than mine, that's totally fine. Just know that 2 people in 2 good houses that you choose is the ideal strategy, and then loading up the other 2 houses, the bad houses, with everyone else. It doesn't matter who's in there, just anyone is fine. I will say put an Elrion as a non-master in one of your bad houses, because he will be spawning more often. And my strategy next league will involve an Elrion. It doesn't matter where he is, okay? As long as he's not the leader. Reason being, the leader is slightly hard to spawn initially, and then later on, it's also harder, a little bit harder to spawn. So you'll get less Elrion jewelry if he's a leader. But if you have him anywhere here in the bad houses, then when he spawns, quite often, because look at all these lines, which are relationships, then he will drop Elrion jewelry, 20 to 25C, selling instantly. Very, very good amounts of money early on, and then you can get your channeling crafts and stuff like that done by yourself without having to trade, so you save yourself time there as well. But okay, that's a little bit of a tangent there. So good houses here, bad houses here, which I stock up on. I need 5 people in each house, right? So it's a maximum of 5 per house. So 5 in transportation, and then 5 people in, yeah, 5 people in here. And then what's going to go on, once this is all done, then I'm going to use the people in the bad houses to farm intelligence into these houses, because with all these lines, they'll show up when I encounter these 2, and I'll feed intelligence, fill this up, fill it up at the point where I have a rank 3 that fled, hopefully in the leadership position, and then hopefully either a Vagin or a Gravicious rank 3, preferably Gravicious in a rank 3 leadership position, and then I do the house. Okay, that's the strategy right there. I know that sounds like it's kind of like forehead, right? It's like, yeah, just do that forehead, okay? So initially the way I did it is I just kept like kicking out people until I revealed all the question marks and got these 2 in here, these 2 in here, and I just started ranking up here, and then moving unassigned people into here. And this is all really confusing, right? Let's talk about my strategy with the lines. The goal, the min-max, is 13 lines. I don't even know if this is possible or how many Junes this would take, because like sometimes there's like game restrictions that you don't know about. But I guess the absolute min-max would be 13 red lines coming from every one of these good people, red lines, okay? And that is because there's 10 people in the bad houses. So you absolutely want any kind of lines from your good people in the good houses to all of the bad people and within each other, okay? So a line from each good person into literally everyone else possible, okay? And then red if you can get it, okay? And then what you want is you want in your bad houses, so these 10 people right here where my mouse is circling, you don't want any relationships in between them. So for example, my board is looking pretty good because the relationship I have is there's this tiny red line. The UI is so scuffed because look at these lines. These lines even like cover up the XP, but you can like see it there. It's so bad. You'll get annoyed by the UI sometimes, but you see like this tiny red line here between Jorgen and Corel. You can like barely see it in the corner where my mouse is here, but then like the UI scuffs it because it covers it. That is a rivalry in between the bad house. You do not want that, and you don't want green lines in between the house either. So no lines from anyone in a bad house to anyone in a bad house. But however, remember, from any of the good dudes to the bad dudes is fine, right? So for example, if there's a line going from any of the bad dudes into a good dude, great. But any kind of line, red or green, in between anyone in the bad houses, terrible, okay? And the reason for that is because think of any scenario that you want to spawn, okay? If I just randomly choose one of these dudes, then if there's lines going into the bad dudes, they're more likely to spawn, and those don't really give you anything, right? They might give you an option to remove that relationship, sure, but then you could have just spawned in one of these dudes, right? If there's no lines in between here, then the game rolls the dice when you encounter these dudes. Given that there's lines, it rolls the dice between 0 and 3 to pull the people in. The dice roll is much more weighted to 0, so don't be discouraged. In my strategy, I get pissed off sometimes because I have so many lines and it's weighted, right? So spawning in zero people to help or is much more common than spawning in 3 dudes. Like when you get 4 dudes, you're like, whoa, this is crazy. But most of the time, like you're gonna get like 0 or like 1 or 2 dudes, right? And that's kind of annoying, but that's just how the game is, right? It'd be too easy if it spawned in too many dudes. So in this example, once again, you only want lines going from the bad people into the good people, because when you encounter a bad dude, you only want good people to spawn, because then you can rank them up faster, and then there's also like cool RNG options that can occur. On the good side, this reasoning is as follows. If there are lines in between the good people, right? Because you know how I said the reason I repeat things in these videos is because they're one takes and I'm like kind of scuffed, but it's also because I need to drive home important facts that need to be repeated, right? Because that's how people learn. So you know how I said repeatedly and very with emphasis that you don't want any relationships over here? Well, it's not the case over here on the good dudes. And then let's go through the reasoning. Because my strategy is that if, let's say I spawn a it that fled in my research encounter, and I pull one of these dudes. You see how I have lines between these two? This one I'll try to make red eventually. But let's say like any of these guys spawn. That's good because I'm going to get a rank up or something, right? And then if I get a rank up on these dudes, it's fine. If there is nothing, if this one's like a scuffed interaction, then I can just let him go and there's no harm, no foul. Doesn't scuff my board, it's a wash. No big deal, right? So it's great because I can rank up a good person, right? Either or if I spawn one of these bad dudes, then it's the same exact thing. Bad dudes spawning into these two branches are XP feeds, right? They feed EXP, the percentage point, this bar here, into the good houses because you're only running the good houses. And that is the second part of the strategy. And that is that you are only going to farm, under most circumstances, I will only use bad dudes to farm XP for the good houses. I will never run these two, and I'll never run catering. Okay, this is also like core. I never run transportation safe house for any reason whatsoever. I never run fortification safe house for any reason whatsoever. And I absolutely do not even click near this button, okay? I absolutely do not fight catering under any circumstances because it basically resets your entire board and you start from scratch. And yeah, so with that said, if I'm going to do anything, it's going to be feeding XP here to here and then ranking up here. Okay, I kind of lost my train of thought where I was here. What was I talking about before? Okay, so rules. I'll talk about rules here to follow. So XP from here to here, and then rank ups whenever you encounter these people if you can. Okay, and then obviously you want to rank up these dudes when the previous two things aren't mentioned, because if you have a rank 2 here and let's say I spawn it that fled and I'm looking for an XP farm and only this guy spawns, I'm not going to imprison this guy for XP because at rank 2 you're going to get like 7 per turn instead of like 12 or 16 per turn or anything like that. So you just want to be like very efficient. Now another rule that I follow is I avoid gaining XP in these two rooms as much as I can. The only time I gain XP is if it's an option, as a right side option, if it would result in a line creation or progression in the relationship. So once again, this is just my strategy, okay? This is like a little bit more min-max, but there's even like crazy stuff that you can do. So if I get an option, this will probably be easier to show with examples. Maybe I should make that other video. If I get an option to gain a line between, who doesn't have a line? Okay, Guff and Gravitius don't have a relationship. If there was some option where I could gain a line, a green line to start, but it said gain 10% transportation intelligence to fill up the safe house, okay? I would prioritize relationship lines, especially new ones, because that's really hard to get later on, okay? It's RNG based. I would prioritize creating green or red lines, once again, following the previous rules I mentioned, over like not getting XP for the bad houses, because once it fills up then it's just going to tick and then it's going to slowly fade XP, which is fine. So you'll be like locked out for a while, and that's totally fine. That's the one time I would like be okay getting XP in here. Otherwise you don't really want XP, okay? You only want XP if you can create a line like that, or in other instances, you know how I was talking about red lines, so these green lines mean that they are trusted. It's still good because a green line and a red line for spawning a person, I believe, is the same percentage chance. What do I mean by that? If I have a Haku, so I'm running around, right, and I encounter fortification, Haku is in there by himself. Let's say the game rolls the dice. Remember, it rolls the dice between 0 and 3 for how many people to add in to help him. And given that you have that many lines coming out of him, right, this Haku has 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so he's actually able to get 3 if the game rolls that. Let's say the game rolls it rolls like a 2, okay, and then a Vagin and a Vrici spawn in. Now, I would want to turn this green line into a red line. And that is because, the reason I mentioned this example is because I don't believe a red or a green line changes the chance. Like, it's not like Vrici has like a 30% chance to spawn because it's a green line, and it's not like Vagin has like a 10% chance to spawn because it's a red line. We don't know the percentages. It seems pretty even to me, but I could be wrong. So the reason you want to turn a green line into a red line is because if I were to rank up Vagin and now I don't want to touch him anymore, the red line makes it so that if there's two people left, right? Because with 3 people on showing up on the ground, you're guaranteed a +1 rank, okay? But there's only 2 people. The only way you can get 1 rank on either of those dudes is if they're rivals, okay? If this was red, for example, the Vrici would be like, let's say he was rank 2 and this guy's rank 2, then either of them would most likely, once again, there's some RNG involved, but most of the time it would be a rank 1 up, obviously you do the Vrici, and then so you would, red line would mean that you have your choice very safe because after the +1, nothing else happens. If it's a green line, this is called a division rank up or a division shift, okay? And a green line, you won't just get a +1 or a +1 choice. It will be like +3 ranks to this guy, lose all ranks to this guy. +1 rank to everyone in research, -1 rank to everyone in here. And that could be okay. That could be like pretty damn good if you have like, you know, in certain situations it could be min-max. But for our purposes, it's much safer when you're starting this out to just get red lines everywhere, because then it's very safe and you don't brick it by pressing the +1, okay? I know this is very advanced, but I'm just going to share my strategy and my reasoning for the people that already know the basics, and so you can kind of follow along. If you're a new player, once again, watch the videos below. So that's my another strategy that I have there. So right now I'm trying to convert all these green lines into reds. Later on, I will play around with a couple green lines extending over, because a division rank up and a division rank down is relatively safe in my opinion from what I've seen. Okay, and so that is my that's like another part of the strategy. Okay. Another thing that I will do for part of my strategy that's maybe a little bit unorthodox is I will spend an abnormal amount of time checking for like shifts or deletions of relationships, because I believe that's worth it to take this time to do, because it will result in a more min-max board faster for the rest of the league. You have to remember you're doing this at the beginning of the league, so every little min-max you do applies for the entire rest of the league that you play, and it just feels amazing, very fun. So what I mean by that is that a lot of the time, the things I'll notice is that once you have like a lot of lines, right, you'll start to like remember where people are, but I'll actually type out for my strategy, I'll type out where the green relationships are. So maybe I'll put in my Twitch chat, maybe I'll put on a notepad up here, and it will say, for example, I only have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? I have 6 green lines. So I might type out like what's this, like Riker, Green, Gravicius, right? Or I might type out actually this wait, okay, see this UI is kind of scuffed. You like can't even see where they are. I might type out Riker, Green, Vagin, Riker, Green, Gravicius. I might type out Rin, Green, It That Fled, Jorgen, Green, It That Fled. And why do I do this? Because if I were to like just spawn some dude and have to mouse over and look at this every time from scratch, it's like really hard, especially because they like shift around, and when you select someone in the options, like they look at this, it covers everything. You can't see jack shit, right? This is really, really annoying. Okay, I get kind of triggered by this, because let's say like okay, let me give you an example. Let's say Jorgen, Corel, and Rin spawn in, and then Vrici spawns in. Okay, let's say like Corel's the main guy in the transportation, and then Vrici comes flying in because he's a rival. Okay, in this situation, if I click on this guy first, or any of these dudes, look at that, look what happens. The tile, imagine this is in a map when this is actually happening, right? Because then there's 2 giant ass menus on either side when you click on them. You can't see where the relationships are, right? Look at that, it's blocking the lines. I can't see that. And betrayal help doesn't work either, because look at this, I want to see the lines, right? Like, so this doesn't even help, because this is even worse. So in this situation, I'm like, god damn, I can't see anything. So when I look at my notepad file, right, and I see in this example, you see that tiny red line that would be hidden. Jorgen red Corel. I typed that in because I write down the relationships that I want to either upgrade or delete, and I want to delete all the relationships on the bad house. So when I write these things down and 4 dudes come flying in, I can just look at my notepad and be like, okay, is there a Corel Jorgen first of all? Oh, there is Corel Jorgen. Then I change the order of operations that I do when to the other guys. And let's say I see like what was another green one? Like for this example, like Riker Verici, right? And I look at my notepad file and I'm like, oh, Riker and Verici on the ground right now. They're available. Let me do something with those two. And so that's why you might want to write things down or make like a chart yourself. This is super sweaty. You don't have to do this until you get all the lines out, but if you choose it, you'll know exactly what I mean. You're gonna get really pissed off at this UI, and they can make it so much better by just like for example, why don't they just do this? When I highlight Torah, the red lines just have a red outline around the dudes that she's connected to. So like for example, let's see something easier. See this one, Vagin. You see, it has like 5 red lines right here to these guys. What if you just like mouse over Vagin and then like it red borders like the dudes he's rivals, and it green borders anyone who he's like a friend. Like, why don't they just do that? Right? Like, come on. Okay, I'm like ranting now. Okay, but trust me, if you do this, you're gonna get triggered by how bad this UI is and how much it scuffs you and stuff like that. Like, because sometimes I'm seriously like in this situation. Sometimes I'm just guessing. I'm just straight up guessing. I'm like, yeah, maybe they're rivals. You know, and like I'll never guess to a point where I brick my board or do a bad calculation. It's just a wash sometimes, right? Okay. With all that said, why is it important to write these things down and to look at inner relationships? Okay, because another part of my strategy is, once again, I told you I'd take an abnormal amount of time for this kind of stuff, is I'll give you an example. Now, if a Jorgen and Corel in transportation spawn at the same time, they have a rivalry. Very hard to see once again where my mouse is when I let go. You'll see a tiny red thread, right? That means I want to remove that. And if a bunch of dudes spawn in, it won't let you do that until they're like the last ones for the options, okay? What I mean by this, let's say that Corel and Jorgen spawn in with, I'm just gonna pick 2 random people. I'm gonna pick Verici and Itefled. With those 4 on the board, if I click on Corel, it will never say neutral, because it goes from trusted to rivals to neutral. So if you have nothing, it'll say these 2 become trusted. When they're trusted, it'll say these 2, do you want to betray or do you want to do that? And then from the betrayal, it'll go neutral. So they have to be rivals first and then neutral, right? So they're rivals right now. So to remove that line to neutral, it will never be that option if there's 4 dudes on the board, or even like 3 dudes on the board, okay? So if I click on him with 4 or 3 dudes left, if I click on Jorgen with 4 or 3 dudes left, I will never be able to ruin that relationship. What I'll need to do in this example I just gave you, the Verici and Itefled, I will need to like cancel these out, which are fine. I need to take them out of that board space, and that's fine, right? Because when you spawn transportation, my strategy is always I look at the branch, and if it's not a good branch, then I never farm XP, right? So what I do is I'll probably just execute these guys in that instance. So I execute these 2 guys so they're off the board and no shift over here, and then these 2 are the last ones remaining. Okay, does that make sense? Because to go from the rivalry to the neutral, I can't have these dudes on the board. It has to be these 2 alone. And even when it's these 2 alone, the last 2 dudes, it's not guaranteed. I'd say it's like maybe 50-50 or something that you get the good RNG, and it will actually say Corel and Jorgen become neutral, right? Maybe even less than 50-50, right? This is very anecdotal. And most of the time though, it might just be like a rank 1, a +1 rank, or like some weird option, or like no change, right? Because the RNG, especially if they're like not rank 3. So there's a lot that goes into this. So that's another min-max that I personally spent, I'd say, too much time on, because I know I can play a lot and it's going to benefit me down the road to remove that relationship. Because let's say the next time I encounter Jorgen or Corel, right? The next time I encounter them in transportation, because the way that it works is that it spawns a follower. It'll never spawn Torah. So like this is a 2 out of this is a 50% chance to spawn one of these guys at least. What will happen is the next time, if I spend the time doing that, Corel or Jorgen, as the initial guy that spawns, now has a big percentage. It has a higher percentage chance to spawn a good dude versus this guy, right? Because let's say that Jorgen, remember, you can only spawn the other dudes if they're connected. So let's say that I only had 2 lines, right? I had a line from Jorgen to Verici, and then Jorgen and then to Itefled. And now, if I don't have the corral and the game rolls any number of dice that's greater than 0, right? 1 or 2, right? So I get either one Verici or one it that fled, or it's in the good case it rolls a 2 and I get both of them. It will only be the good people. So it'll only be rank ups or cool options. It will never be the corral. Because let's imagine the game rolls a dice roll of 1 and then it picks 1 out of these 3 because they're still connected. Then you're scuffing that entire turn. And let's say you have the 3 June encounters in a map, then that's 33% of your June mission just completely gone. It's a wash, right? And so that feels kind of bad. So that's why you should spend time trying to remove the relationships on your bad houses. Okay, mine just happened to be on the left here. So remember, you have to think about what your bad houses are. Now, let's move on to the next part of my strategy, and that is that once you have the relationships in your mind or written down, and you've gotten them to the point where it is good, I will actually derank people sometimes to get my own house. Okay, now this might be a little bit unorthodox because, like, let's say that Vagin's rank 3 right now and the Grievous was rank 3 as well, but like I was at 64% XP or something, right? And I knew that by deranking my Vagin, I get 36 over 3 12 per turn for 36 over 3 turns, and I get the full house, right? And this is especially important in times where it's the last house. So what do I mean by that? You can derank to fill up XP as long as they give enough XP to like get the house up there. Because let's give this example. Let's say that my out of the 3 things I can spawn, let's say I get intervention last. It's gonna be kind of rare to get intervention last because I think it tries to do intervention or research closer to you in a map. I think before doing fortification or transportation, but that's anecdotal as well. But let's say I got intervention last, and now I have 64 intelligence, and the Vagin spawns in, and he's rank 3, so I can get 36. 36 plus 64 is a full house on the last event. Okay, what that means is that, like, in the future, right? In the future, when this happens, like, it will. How do I explain this? Okay, this is like a concept that's very hard to explain. If there's no difference between the polished and the gilded, really, like at this point in the league, there's no difference between the polished and gilded Legion Scarab, then I don't really care to min-max a dude here. I will care about the leader, right? Because like the gilded divination is pretty insane for Barrow Chambers. But this, I'll like. Okay, let me just say this. I'll sacrifice the shitty dude in the good houses that I want. For example, the shitty dude in this example is a Verici or a Vagin. They're not shitty, okay, but they are the worst of the 2 options. I will derank my own members to fill up the house, whereas most people will just use these as XP farms, right? Because you're gonna get into a flow where you realize that things don't match up, right? Like you might have 3 and 3, but you have no XP, and then you'll realize, man, Vagin has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 connectors. It's very possible I'm just gonna get him again. So you might sacrifice the shitty dude because you know you're gonna get him like faster. You're gonna fill up the house faster. So let's say like I get 2 intervention houses per, X encounters versus one per like X minus 3 encounters, right? Then like obviously depending on what those numbers are, it's much more efficient to just take the safe house because. Going back to the core tenet of the strategy, these are infinite cycles. You'll never lose these 2 guys out of these 2 houses, so they're permanently there. The one time that the couple times I've scuffed them and mixed them around is under these conditions where I don't see that there's a rank 1 dude over here. So it's very important to like check, okay? Because when you're deranking, especially if you have green lines and you're doing division rank downs and rank ups, don't ever derank them past 1 with any options, okay? So like this Guff is rank 2, right? So it would be safe to get XP for any of these houses because he'd go to rank 1, but he wouldn't be unassigned. If this was 1 star, and then I was like let's say that this research was 1% away, it was 99, and this was a 1-star dude, and it was like gain 2 intelligence per turn tick. You don't want to imprison that guy because that guy's gonna get unassigned and you're gonna like, it's gonna scuff your thing sometimes, right? And then other turns when like you scuff things, and if you never want to do these 2 back to back, okay? Reason being, like when the dudes come out of prison, when your Katarina mission is full, they might swap. It's like a 50-50 chance to swap them. It's really easy if it's just a swap to get them back, okay? So if you ever find yourself, like my strategy, sometimes I don't pay attention and I'll have like a random rank 1 go into somewhere else. If your board is like this, like where the setup is good and then you accidentally swap two dudes, it's not a big deal because you can just derank both of them until they swap again. Okay, it might take some time, it might be annoying, but it's not completely bricked. You just don't panic. So yeah, so that's like a little strategy there. Okay, another thing about these about writing down the options that's important is because you can use that to further speed up the rate at which you go from green lines to red lines, or to speed up the rate in which you cancel relationships in your bad houses. What do I mean by that? So when you do this board from start to finish yourself, right, you're gonna know what's good and what's bad after a while. Like for example, I close my eyes, right, I can still see the green lines like snaking across the screen on this dude and this dude, right, because it's been there forever, and I've just gotten a little bit of bad RNG, but I know eventually it turn red. So what I'm saying you'll get a feel for like who you're really looking for, but by writing things down you can speed that process up. Okay, and what that means is that, let's say that you spawn 4 dudes, right, and you know your board rule, you have a notepad file of who you're looking for or who you're looking to cancel. So I'm gonna go back to this example, right, because like one of my only bad relationships on this side of the board is that my only bad relationship? Wow, this board's pretty good. Jorgen and Corel, right, they are currently rivals, which is bad. I want them to be neutral. So what I would do in this scenario is, if I were to farm EXP from these dudes, I would not imprison these 2 guys if I could help it. Okay, this is really hard without the exact example. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example here about this part of the strategy. Let's say that I am in research and I spawn in, my It That Fled is there, and I spawn in like a couple dudes, right? And now I know that I'm trying to remove this relationship, right? And what's gonna happen is, even if you don't spawn in both of these, right, because I already explained earlier in the video that if you spawn in both of these guys and like you don't need anything here, then what you can do is you can just leave these 2 dudes until the end for the RNG chance that they become neutral. Now let's say the example is that you're in a research It That Fled and Corel spawns in and Rin spawns in. Okay, I'm just gonna give this very easy example. Now it wouldn't matter who you imprison, right, because it's gonna be 36 intelligence or 36 intelligence. But what you're really really gonna want to do when you look at your notepad for the written down things you're trying to remove is you're gonna see, oh, Corel is the only bad relationship over here, right? It's the only bad relationship. So in that case, you would want to imprison Rin, because when someone's in prison, they can't show up for those 3 ticks. So that way you have removed 1 person from the pool. Okay, so now under this scenario, and you do whatever you want to do, right, you like kill this guy, you rank up this guy, whatever. The next time you spawn something, let's say that it does transportation, right, out of these 2, next time you go here, Rin is imprisoned. Okay, so what that means is that, let's say you have a relationship here, it's like 1 little bit of percentages removed from the pool that will like give you a higher chance of getting something with these 2. This is like, man, this is really hard to explain. Okay, but yeah, let's just also say this example right here. Like, let's say that the option in there was the opposite, right? Let's say you were like, you didn't want to min max, you just didn't care, or maybe you needed both the XP to fill up like 72% XP here. Let's say that you imprisoned Corel in that last example, right? It wouldn't have been the right choice, but let's say you did it because you just needed XP. It's not a terrible thing, right? It's rank 3, you get the XPs. Then what's going to happen is that when you, let's say that transportation spawns, and instead of spawning like the Corel and the Jorgen, it spawns the Jorgen and like the Riker, right? And so, and then like a couple of these other people, and like you don't have the option, right? You don't have the chance even of getting an easier removal of that relationship. Whereas like if this guy wasn't in prison and you had imprisoned the Rin, you could get that, right? And that this works like across the board too, if that makes sense. Like, because remember, rivalries go like any direction, right? Or relations go any direction. If I had this Gravitius, for example, and the Gravitius would roll 2 dice, and let's say I roll a 3, and it pulls in like Jorgen, and it tries to pull in Corel as well for like this option here, but Corel was in jail. Oh, can't pull him in. It's gonna pull in someone else around here. Okay, so it just like overall your chances are better in the long run if you look at your options and do your order of operations correctly. So that's a strategy that I am employing. It's very sweaty and it takes a lot of effort in terms of you have to write these things down, and it's annoying, but I think it is worth it. With all that said, that's basically it. Order of operations, okay? Now, for my strategy, I look at the branch when it spawns, okay? It's always gonna try to spawn research and intervention, so you're like pretty much guaranteed these two, and it chooses one of these, okay? So if it's a good house, right? So we look at branch. Priority list is like this: branch first. If it's a good house, you look to see if you can pull rank 3 XP interrogation into filling up the house, okay? That's like, you just keep that in mind, like, can I get rank 3 XP, or in some small instances rank 2 XP you can interrogate if the bar doesn't require very much XP. This is overridden if you have a rank up, right? Because you really want to get that flood ranked up and into the leadership position. So besides keeping an eye on, like, okay, I know that this is going to be an XP farming zone, right? If I get research and intervention, and then you're going to try to rank up these two people. Or if that flood isn't in the leadership spot, if you find a Vrici, you're going to want to rank down Vrici, so that when you rank down Vrici, that flood goes in the master position. That's your order right there. And then from there, after you look at that, police are here, making too much money from betrayal. All right, so man, now I'm just thinking about the Pepe Sylvia thing from Always Sunny, where he's got like he's trying to find Pepe Sylvia on the board. Okay, so that after you thought about that, what you need to think of is what relationships can I gain or remove? Okay, so in this example, like, can I get two people together to remove a relationship or to progress a green relationship in a bad house to red? Can I gain any lines? Like, I really like lines, but you might you might think that like ranking up at that flood is more important line. They're like kind of the same, really. So you're gonna prioritize ranking up or gaining new lines, or once again moving green to red, okay, or bad houses red to neutral. After that, your priority is RNG. We'll call it trials by RNG, and that is just the last person remaining sometimes has a cool option, right? And if you only spawn one dude in the house, then what you're looking for is the right side option, right? Because the left side is always gonna be like in prison. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say you spawn and hit that fled. Okay, and so the only person that spawns that's technically the last person, right? If you have like 4 people spawn, but then the last person is sitting there for you to wait to click an option, that's also the last person. Most times there's a spawn in one person, which is the last person. And the right side option can be RNG'd, and that means in, I don't know, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 12, 1 out of 5 scenarios, I don't know what it is, it will give you just a straight up RNG option of this person and this person become trusted, or something cool like that. And that's really badass, because for nothing, it's free. Because like usually when you see a one person spawn, you're like, oh, it's gonna be an easy decision, I'm just probably gonna let them go, or like do whatever. But sometimes on the right side, you'll get a free line somewhere, and you need to look for those. Okay, make sure you look for those on the one mans. Okay, now another part of the strategy that I just started doing about a day ago is I do not want to lose June sections, right? I don't want to lose branches. And what you're going to see a lot, because remember, with this strategy, you fill up these houses really fast. You get so much safe house encounters, right? And you get so much money because you run them so fast. You're going to find a lot of times you're going to go into a June, run a June mission, run a June prophecy, and you're only going to have 2. You're going to have 2 missions instead of 3, which are supposed to have. You're like, what the hell? What the hell? And that is because when you run a safe house, the leader gets imprisoned for 1 tick. Okay, that 1 tick doesn't happen to the next map. So in the next map, because remember, it has to try to spawn a research or intelligence. If the leader's in jail and there's no subordinate, because the house can only spawn from the subordinate, then it doesn't spawn at all, because there is no subordinate. There's only a leader. Okay, and because of that, you've lost 1. So it will select the other one that you didn't do, and then it will select one of these. Okay, it doesn't select both. So then you'll have 2 instead of 3. So that's a third of your June lost, right? Or you can think of it as getting, if you do this strategy, you can do 50% more Junes after a safe house, okay? Now, you could just run another map. You could just take the 2, the loss of 1, and do another map, and you'll get it again. Because in the next map, you run maps in sequence, map to map. The next map, when you take the first one, then the guy comes out of jail, and then you're fine, right, for the next map. But yeah, so if you don't want to lose it, what you want to do is after you run a safe house, here's the priority list. If running that safe house immediately and there is one more thing to do, like it says 2 out of 3 and the bar is full, run it immediately and then go back into your map and run the third one, because that third one in that same map will take the guy out of prison, and then your next map you run will have 3 instead of 2. Okay, so once again, if you have a full safe house, okay, remember, never run them back to back, but if you have, let's say like research was done and it says 2 out of 3 in a map, right, there's the one more June thingy that you haven't encountered. Go back to town, run your safe house. Reach, in this instance, Richie would go to prison. When you go back to your hideout from the syndicate, make sure you don't close your map, okay? Go back into the same map, because remember, there's one more June mission in there. When you run that June mission, Richie would get ticked back out of jail, and he'd be right here as a subordinate, and then the next map you run, he's available to spawn the safe house, and then you get 3, okay? If that makes sense. Now, you might be wondering, what if it's the last one? Why do you say 2 out of 3? Or I mean, it doesn't have to be 2 out of 3. It could be 1 out of 3 as well. If you get, it's just depending on when you get the safe house ready, right? If it's before the third one, you're safe, because you can tick him out of prison with the next encounter or 2. What happens if it's on the third one? So you're running a map, right? There's 3 encounters. The first one's a transportation, no big deal, it's a wash. The second one is a intervention, it's a wash. And now on the third and last one, you have options to fill up your research safe house, and then it's ready. What do I do? You would run it, right? You run the safe house, right? There's no more things in the map. So you leave the map, you run the safe house, there's nothing left in the map. What do you run another map? No, right? Because if you run another map, it's scuffed. You're gonna get 2 spawns. So what you do is you do this. This is kind of hilarious. You go here to part 2 to act 9, and you control click the foothills, or you can just click it the first time because it's a new zone. And you are gonna, my button is home. I think yours is like F1 or something, maybe, or F12. I forgot what, F10. So there's 2 ways to do this. One is looking at the gears, which I don't recommend. I'm just gonna do this. You press the show analytics and look at that spike, and you just spam this. You just control click new on the foothills, and what you're looking for is 2 things. Okay, you see, you see how that spike was bigger than that one? Do you see that? Do you see how that spike was bigger than these 2? That means that first one has a master mission in it. I'm gonna go back to that one. So there's 2 ways to do this, because you're trying to tick the guy out of prison, and so that one, if I go back, I can check. It could be an Alba, a Nico, or an Einhar. So it's like 1 out of 4 chance if you get that. So you go to the biggest spike zone, looking at frame timing, okay? The other thing you could do is it'll just show up here. So if you spam click this enough, I'm gonna show you right now, it's going to show up fortification, research, transportation. It'll just tell you that there's a June in this area, and it's only 1, so you can take the guy out of prison. Now then you're like, why don't I just do that? Like, I'm lazy. Why don't I do that instead of frame timing? Because like that spike could be an Einhar or Nico. Why don't I just wait for the June to proc? You know, let me just get it so that you guys can see that I know what I'm talking about. And the reason for that is because even though the June will tell you that there's a June, right, when you're spamming this, what if it's an intervention? So if you get the big spike, right, then you know that there's a master, but it could be an intervention. So you start killing monsters, and then it won't fly in. Like there won't be a quest log here to tell you that the June's there if it's an intervention. Okay, so that's why it's better to look at the frame timing. Or sometimes, like when you run around, you're gonna see the Nico deposits or like the Einhar monster, so you know it's not that one. Okay, so it's like very easy to do this. I'm just gonna keep it. Sometimes you get unlucky, right? Let's see. Okay. Also, when it takes a long time to load, it's probably a mission in there as well. Okay, so I'm spamming foothills. Let me just do this once on stream. Oh, not on stream, but so that you can see that the June is gonna tick here. Okay, so it still hasn't ticked, but hold on. This usually doesn't take more than a few tries. Like usually it's pretty quick, less than a couple minutes, I'd say. Oh yeah, right there. Okay, you see that? Like, so this quest log here, and this doesn't matter if you have quest tracking on or off, it will always show up. So boom, right there. And you see that spike? That spike is bigger than the others, so that's how you know. But remember, that could have been an intervention, and this one that showed up. So so here, you know that exists. It's right here. So what you do is you go and you kill the thing, and boom. In this option right here, for instance, this isn't like one-to-one because I'm just making up examples in my hideout. But in this option, when I was talking about like the guy being in here, by ticking this encounter, the guy comes out of jail, and then when you go back to your hideout to do your next map, then you will get 3 instead of 2. Make sense? Okay. I know it's really confusing, but just trust me. You'll get the hang of it. Okay, and I will do that in the future leagues because I hate losing a third of my Junes, right? Because they're very valuable. And this is free. So this one, just to run you through this one, let's walk through the priority list that I talked about with my strategy. I know it's transportation. I know it's complete garbage because I'm never going to farm XP for this. And it's a one guy spawn, so there's nothing like, there's not too much cool stuff that can happen. See, my RNG was just destroy items, which makes them easier to kill at the beginning of a league, but it doesn't do anything else mechanically. So once again, I don't want intelligence. And this button bargain and this let go is exactly the same thing. Okay, there's no difference between these two because, yeah. So I can just let him go. And then if he drops a veiled item or something, you can pick that up. Look for the strict right now, and that's it. And now you go back to town and you go back to your hideout and you do the next master mission. Okay, I think I talked about most of the things. What I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna like pull up like a 3 node, right, and just kind of go through my strategy here with this one example. Maybe it'll make a little bit more sense. I don't know. I screenshot these. So I go into a map, right, and this is a summit map. I go in and I meet a transportation, and the transportation is pretty cool because what happens here is that Riker, Corel, and Tora show. So I personally know what my good dudes are, right? So I know instantly by seeing this that it is not a XP farm because I'll never farm XP in transportation because I never run the safe house. And I see that there's no Gravitius, there's no Leo, there's no It That Fled, and there's no Varici, right? Even though I have lines to these guys, it just didn't give good RNG. But it is overall good RNG because I got 3 dudes instead of the usual 1. So now I know, I'm like, okay, Riker, Corel, Tora, right? What can I do here? Well, my first thought is that can I rank any of them up, okay? Because the rank up is like gives more XP in the future. So I knew that Riker was rank 2 when I moused over these, and Corel and Tora rank 3. So I just went ahead and I just ranked up Riker. And now see, so you can see right here on this screenshot, I ranked him up. He's rank 3. So if he ever spawns into these 2 houses on the right, it is 36 or 30, sorry, it's 36, yeah, 36 intelligence instead of if he was rank 2, which would be 21, right? 7 times 3 instead of the other one, instead of 12 times 3. So now I look here, and this is kind of interesting because you have a weird thing here, and this is very important to know that a betray button is rivals, even if this didn't say rivals, okay? So when you click on betray, it always does a rivalry. So I look here at Corel and Tora, and they don't have a line. Now this is actually like super important to know, right? Because we don't want any relationships in the bad notes, so I wouldn't click on this. But if you were trusted, if there was a green line here, okay, then you would click on this because it would turn the green line into red, and the next time you have these two, you have a chance of going neutral, right? You have to go from green to red to neutral. And so but this is just called a follower betraying the master, right? And so what happens here is sometimes you can even like derank and like shift these two, but in this scenario I don't want to do this, okay? Because they're neutral, which is the best possible relationship that these two could have in a bad house. And so this one I would just let them go, okay? Now you can check. Now let's say you're like I don't know, because sometimes, and actually like not just sometimes, all the time, you see this yellow line. Yellow line just means that they're in the same branch. It doesn't mean anything for the relationship. But sometimes the red or the green thread can be behind the yellow line. It's crazy, right? I know, it's really crazy. And so you won't be able to see it. And the way you can check this in this situation is if when I click on the Tora, if the Tora says are like already maxed out and just execute, and this button says betray down here with Corel, right? So Tora, you look at the right side option, says like already max, it says execute, and this one says betray. That's how you know that there's no relationship, and it's a follower / master situation there. Okay, that you'll figure this out later on when you do it a bunch of times, okay? But that I thought it was bugged. So I was like, because like sometimes you will have a red line. Let's say that they're already rivals in some instances, and then it'll say betray again, and you're like, wait, what? They're already rivals. And then do it again? It doesn't do anything, right? Because it's just like a special mechanic. Okay, So that's that one. Okay, next I go and then intervention spawns in. It's Vagin. I know the Vagin's he is a good option, right? But he only spawned with one dude, so it's gonna be easy choice, right? Vagin, I'm gonna be like, it's probably either gonna be like a weird option or it's gonna be a let go, because I don't want to de-level him or anything. So Vagin spawns in. I click on him and look at this. So he's a rank 2, right? And you can only rank up if it's another dude showing up with him, right? That's like a rivalry or something. And so my options are, I can either D-rank, I can interrogate, which I'll never do because I want him to rank up, or I can move him with Rin, so I can swap him and Rin. Once again, I look over, well, no, because he's already in the place where he needs to be, and I don't want to swap a shitty master into here. I want to keep him there. So you usually on the good dudes, you will never, once your board is set up, you will never swap them out, or you will never remove rivalries, okay, for that right side option. So for here, I'll just let him go, and it's a wash. Nothing actually happens here. Okay. Next, I go into research, and in the research, once again, I am unlucky, even though I have a billion connections to all these guys. I encounter an It That Fled, so I know that It That Fled is the follower, because it has to spawn the follower rank instead. It can't spawn the master initially. So now I know that It That Fled is the follower. And so when I click on her, this is actually pretty cool, because remember that option I was telling you about, that the last person can get RNG'd into a good option? So I know I won't be able to rank her up because you need another person to be watching, like another person spawn for a rank up, and I know I'll never de-level her, right? Because she's my #1 priority to rank up, so I would never imprison her. And look at this one. This is a good example. So when I clicked on her, it has a RNG option, a good possibility. Usually it'll just say like some weird stuff, maybe some intelligence, maybe something else, but in this one I got It That Fled and Giannis become trusted. Trusted means a green line, and then plus for fortification intelligence. So this hits 2 things. Number 1, I show you a RNG here by clicking on bargain and creating a green line. And then second of all, you know how I said you don't want XP for the bad rooms, and that you would never XP farm this and do the safe houses? You still wouldn't ever do the safe houses. But in this instance, because I'm creating a line and a relationship is much better than anything else in terms of just like pure XP, because XP will decay. In this situation, I will click on this no matter like who was over there, right? Because the Yanni is in a bad house, so I want that relationship to the good house, and it's an extra line that wasn't there before. Okay, and I mean this 4, like this Yanni, this Yanni is actually in Chimera, right? So that's like okay, you see how hard that is to see? This is just a screenshot, so I can't really mouse over it, but let's say that's like 90, so it wouldn't even fill up the house. It wouldn't block the house either, so that's good. So this one's like you get the full benefit of a relationship without any kind of downside, which is really, really good. So like when you see things like this, to create new lines, remember the rules from before. Never any lines created between the bad house and then on the good house from the good members, any lines whatsoever to anybody, okay? And so I'll click on bargain here. Once again, I'm going to say it again, the min max is 13 lines coming out of all the good dudes, and then no lines from bad dudes to other bad dudes, and then obviously 4 lines out of all the bad dudes into, can you even get 12 lines? Can you get like, wait, sorry, hold on. No, 4, yeah. 4 lines from every bad dude into like the 4 good dudes, okay? So that is it. Okay, that's like, that's the video for my personal strategy and what I'm thinking about when I run my safe houses. And that video was really long. Now imagine the video where I go from scratch into a full board from 0 to this right here. It's gonna be a 6-hour video or something, even if I cut it. So that's why it's very daunting to make that video, but maybe you guys learned something. I'm sure I missed a ton of stuff because there is just like little minutia that you have to play through to know. And I hope you guys have some fun with this. I can't recommend it enough. It is such good monies and it is so fun. And if you have any questions, I stream every day on twitch.tv/cute_. Maybe you guys can ask me some questions there or help me out, because I'm not like the best at this either. I've only been learning this for like a week or so, and I'm trying to get better at it because it is so fun. And maybe I'll see you guys there. Okay, thank you guys for watching my video. Okay, bye guys. Bye.